Some people feel restless in silence. If a room grows quiet, they reach for something: a phone, a song, a conversation, a screen. Stillness feels like something is missing. But then there are others. They can sit without background noise. They don't panic when plans fall through. They don't need constant updates, entertainment, or interaction. They can simply be. This video explores the psychology of people who don't need constant stimulation, and what that reveals about how their minds are wired in a world that rarely slows down. Modern life trains us to crave input: notifications, scrolling, streaming, multitasking. We move from one stimulus to the next so quickly that quiet begins to feel unfamiliar. For many people, boredom isn't a lack of activity, it's withdrawal from stimulation. But individuals who don't need constant input often never built that dependency in the first place. Their nervous system doesn't expect constant novelty. Silence doesn't feel like deprivation, it feels neutral, sometimes even comforting. Psychologically, this reflects a lower baseline need for external activation. Their mind doesn't demand constant engagement to feel alive. Constant stimulation feeds rapid reward cycles: short videos, instant messages, quick reactions. Each small burst creates a tiny spike of dopamine, the brain's motivation signal. Over time, some people become conditioned to expect those spikes regularly. Without them, everything feels dull. But people who don't need constant stimulation often operate differently. Their satisfaction isn't tied to speed or novelty. They can read slowly, think slowly, work steadily. Their dopamine system isn't reliant on constant change. This doesn't mean they lack drive. It means their motivation is sustained rather than reactive. They don't chase stimulation. They choose engagement. For some individuals, the inner world is enough. They reflect, they imagine, they analyze quietly. When external input fades, internal processes expand. Where others feel emptiness, they feel space. Space to notice patterns, space to follow a thought further, space to observe subtle emotional shifts. Psychologically, this is often associated with introspective traits. They don't avoid the world. They simply don't require it constantly. Their mind generates its own momentum. Constant stimulation can function as distraction. Noise can mask discomfort. Activity can override reflection. But people who don't need constant input tend to tolerate emotional space better. They can sit with mild discomfort without immediately escaping it. They don't rush to anesthetize boredom or anxiety with distraction. This ability reflects emotional regulation. They are less threatened by internal experience. Silence doesn't amplify panic, it softens it. And that quiet tolerance builds psychological resilience over time. There's also a difference in preference. Some people prefer many shallow inputs. Others prefer fewer, deeper ones. People who don't need constant stimulation often gravitate toward depth. One book instead of 10 short clips. One conversation that lingers instead of constant chatter. One idea explored fully. Their attention isn't fragmented, it's concentrated. And concentrated attention feels satisfying without needing constant change. In a culture that celebrates energy and visibility, this temperament can be misunderstood. They may be labeled boring, slow, unambitious. But the absence of constant stimulation doesn't mean the absence of life. It often means the presence of internal steadiness. They aren't understimulated, they're not overstimulated. Their baseline is calmer, and calm is often mistaken for dullness by people who rely on noise. In a world that constantly asks for your attention, choosing not to need it is a form of autonomy. Not everyone requires rapid novelty to feel engaged. Some people think best in quiet, create best in focus, rest best in stillness. They aren't disconnected, they're simply not dependent. And sometimes the ability to exist without constant stimulation isn't emptiness, it's clarity.